Hello and welcome to Shredder Zoo. Today we should be taking a closer look at one of the first ever dinosaurs to be known by science, the Megalosaurus. The Megalosaurus holds the distinction of possibly being the first dinosaur to ever be described in scientific literature way back in 1676, when an illustration of part of a femur and an accompanying scientific description was printed in Natural History of Oxfordshire, a book written by Robert Plot, a professor of chemistry at Oxford University. Plot realised that the bone belonged to an animal that was too large to be living in England at the time, and at first concluded it belonged to a Roman war elephant, but later he changed his mind and attributed it to belonging to a giant like those mentioned in the Bible. The bone itself has since been lost, but Plot's illustration of it survives and is so detailed that some scientists have identified it as belonging to a Megalosaurus. In several previous episodes in this series, I've talked about the rules for naming specimens governed by the ICZM. Generally, the first scientific name given to a species is given priority over any later name. For example, if a particular specimen is named, but is later found to belong to another species that has already been named, then the later specimen is reclassified under the earlier name. For some, this provides a slight worry that the same could happen to Megalosaurus. Plot's illustration of the femur was used again in a 1763 book by Richard Brooks, an English physician and author. In his book, Brooks refers to the femur, calling it scrotum humanum because of its resemblance to a pair of testicles. Traditionally, this means that all Megalosaurus specimens should be renamed and the Megalosaurus should now be known as a scrotum. Luckily, in 1993, the then president of the ICZN stated that the term scrotum humanum was published merely as a label for an illustration. It did not constitute the valid creation of a new name, and he stated that there was no evidence it was ever intended as such. Furthermore, the partial femur was too incomplete to definitely be referred to as a Megalosaurus and not a different contemporary theropod. The man most often associated with Megalosaurus is the Reverend William Buckland, who had acquired a further fossil material from the same location as the first bone in 1815. Buckland continued to puzzle over what animal these bones belonged to until he was visited by George Cuvier, who declared the bones to belong to some kind of giant lizard-like creature. Compiling and describing as many fossils as he could, Buckland wrote a paper titled Notice on a Megalosaurus or Great Fossil Lizard of Stonesfield. This was before the word dinosaur existed. Early reconstructions of Megalosaurus depicted what most people of the time believed, that it was just a big lizard. Buckland thought that it was an amphibious quadruped, although he did understand that the legs would be straight under the animal and not sprawling. In 1852, Benjamin Waterhouse Hawkins was commissioned to build a life-sized concrete model of Megalosaurus for the exhibition of prehistoric animals at Crystal Palace Park, where it remains to this day. These models were built to specifications by Richard Owen, who at the time also believed that Megalosaurus was a quadruped. The exhibition at Crystal Palace raised awareness of the existence of dinosaurs to the general public of England for the first time, and it still draws many visitors to this day. It wasn't until the 1870s, by which time many more dinosaur specimens had been found, that it was realised that coniferous dinosaurs like Megalosaurus were actually bipedal. Megalosaurus captured the public attention, but its fame also brought problems. Whenever theropod dinosaur remains were discovered that couldn't be identified, they were assigned to Megalosaurus. This is what is referred to as a wastebasket taxon. Over the years, the vast majority of species assigned to Megalosaurus have since been reclassified, including the Dilophosaurus, which was once thought to be a Megalosaurus. Despite how famous the Megalosaurus is, no complete skeleton has ever been found. This makes reconstructions uncertain, but it is thought that it was around 30 feet, that's about 9 meters long. This makes it a middle-sized theropod, but it was still probably one of the largest carnivores of the Middle Jurassic period. It lived in what is now Europe and was probably the apex predator of its habitat. Many fossils of Megalosaurus are found in coastal habitats. It's possible that it may have scavenged bodies of washed up marine animals or taken fish trapped in tide pools. It may have hunted small plesiosaurs that rested on the beach. It may also have hunted inland, preying on stegosaurs and sauropods. As far as I can tell from my research, there is no evidence that Megalosaurus was nocturnal as it is depicted here in Ark. But if you know different, let me know in the comment section. Well, that's all I have for you this week, and as always, I hope you've enjoyed the video and you've learned something new. If you did, please let me know by leaving a like and a comment down below. I hope to see you next time here at Shredder Zoo for the last educational special at this location before we move on to the aquarium. And that will be all about the Dimetrodon. Well, I'll see you then. Goodbye.